Alright, so this should be the probably the last excuse me, last video for the letter E rigging. So this is where I left off, and what I need to do is to bind the mesh to the bones. Yeah, so you select the bones, the top level, the root joint. You shift select the mesh. Make sure to go up into skin, bind skin, which is basically this one, option box. And just like I showed in the testing the articulation for the letter E, just have this set up. Boom, 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 boom. This one, this, and take off the colorized skeleton, and then this, and especially the resolution, check. Let's get the cluster, check. Apply and close. I'm gonna pause the video for a moment. Alright, so it's done. Let's check the mesh. I select the mesh. Here, skin cluster, that means that's the skin binding. That was done. And now I need to put on the delta mesh. So you select the mesh, deform, delta mesh, option box, which is this one right here. I put here, delta mesh. This, check, this, and this. And then you hit apply, close. And you'll see here, the very top, delta mesh 1. This is basically just the display layer. And there's your delta mesh. Then there's your skin cluster, which was the bind skin. When you did the bind skin, this gets all locked out as well. Alright, so seeing this is the mesh, it's locked out. Okay, so that was that part. Next, we need to make a couple of groups. These groups, basically they're a null, N-U-L-L, basically an empty container, similar to and I guess like After Effects and their null perhaps, or maybe not. Anyway, so what I want to do is to select the E root joint, the root, and then shift select the COG controller, COG. Press Ctrl G as in George to group it. Immediately I'm gonna name this E organizer group. So it's a container, and inside of it is organized, having the entire joint chain along with its constraints, also containing the COG control, basically the entire animation controllers, all connected. Then I need to select the empty group organizer, right? Oh wait, I need to select the global controller. Okay, I select the global controller, which is this one right here, which is also still center of the 3D world. Alright, make sure it hasn't moved, make sure there's no history. I select the global controller and I shift select the organizer group, or you could also just hold control and then select that as well. So you select the controller, global controller, then you select the organizer group, and I'm gonna apply a parent constraint, which is this guy, which is also under constraint, parent constraint, the option box, right? So again, this guy right here, click, 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 apply. So what that did was basically what happens is that everything inside of this organizer group, right, which is the skeleton, most of the controllers, as well as the this was made after the fact. This was made when we just did the parent constraint just now, so just ignore that for now. So what happened was that now this parent constraint, right, means that the global controller, which is outside of the empty of the E organizer group, right, this guy is now controlling and running and commandeering the organizer group. See how the organizer group is all blue for the movement as well as the rotation. So if I select the global control, right, see how everything follows. But do not scale it. I repeat, do not try to scale it. I have moments where it will do weird things and just potentially break the rig for no reason. It's just bizarre. I just don't screw around with it for now. So anyway, so when you select the global controller for E, you know, we can move, we can rotate, but do not scale. Yeah. Alright, so we did that and that. Select the global controller, and then also select the empty the E organizer group, and we're gonna apply a scale constraint. So constraint scale option box, reset, add. So now the global controller, which is controlling the organizer group, which inside of the organizer group has the bones, has the controllers, animation controllers. These are the constraints that is binding to the global controller. The parent constraint and the scale constraint that we just did a little while ago just now. But don't scale it. Something can break, that's why. Anyway, so that part is done. Now you select everything as such. We're going to apply another group. So Control G as in George. Name this E, and then main group. So now inside of this main group you have mesh, you have the global controller, and furthermore you have the organizer group, which inside the organizer group container you have the bones, you have the other main controllers, and this is just the constraints from like 5 minutes ago that we just did, right? But we're not done just yet. We grab the main group, E main group, right, top of the stack, as you can see. We're going to select all of it, right click, lock, selected. So basically, if you were to try to accidentally move the group, you can't. It won't let you. As a matter of fact, let me lock this. Oh, except for the controllers. I don't want to accidentally move the bones. So yeah, the main group is the main group, right, locked out. Because the whole purpose of this main group is just to self-contain everything. Because rigs can easily break if they're not packaged airtight. Yeah, meaning that if someone to try to, screw around and stuff. So okay, next I need to go up into Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. Make sure this says to and from. Right. Make sure this says reload left, reload right, inputs, outputs, to and from. And on the left side, right, left display, you can tear it off clicking on this. Right display, you can tear it off clicking on that. You want to have it so that on the left side, it only shows show inputs only. On the right side, right display, show readable only. Reason why I'm saying this and do that is because otherwise the list gets super long and annoying to try to look and read through. So from there, what we're gonna do is, and I'm going to crack this open, and I'm gonna select the mesh from here, outliner, and then here, right, this is the mesh. As you can see, it's locked out from the bind skin that we did. You wanna click here. So you just wanna click that. You make sure to click on the Delta Mesh one. Then you're gonna go reload left. So this connection editor is gonna connect certain thing to something else that is a specific thing. It's basically what I'm saying. And with this set to show inputs only, our list is super short. We're gonna leave it here like this. Then I'm gonna click outside. I wanna select the global control. And I'm gonna do reload right. So what's gonna happen is this, is that typically if a rig did not have the Delta Mesh, you do the scaling and all of that, it's, it'll work out and whatnot. But the Delta Mesh is you could say kind of special. It has unique properties to it, blah 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 blah. I don't really know what it exactly does. I just know that it's freaking good stuff. But the Delta Mesh, it has its own scaling values, right? The secret sauce recipe, whatever this is, it has its own scaling values. So what that means is that if you're to try to scale the global controller, right? Because the global controller, we had done the scale constraint. Remember where we did to constraint, scale constraint, and you could also see it here. See the scale constraint? So that the global controller, you can scale the mesh, but don't scale it. If you scale it, chances are something's gonna break, because I've done it multiple times, right? Don't scale it. Because if you scale it, you'll notice that the mesh will start to warp and be kind of inflated looking. So that's why we're going through this trouble of doing this little special connection of the Delta Mesh, meaning that the Delta Mesh, its scale, we're gonna connect it to the scale of the global control. So that's what we're gonna do. So that's why we loaded the Delta Mesh on the left, and we loaded the controller, the global controller on the right for the special connection. What you want to do is make sure to click on this scale for the global controller, and we're going to connect it to the delta mush its scale. You'll notice there's two scales, this scale and this scale, right? Because this scale is actually for this, so you don't want to do that because it's blocked out. So I just selected that, so don't worry about it. What you want is for a delta mush's scale. So I'm going to show this. I'm going to select the global control. You'll notice there's nothing here for the global control, right? But the moment I click on scale of the delta mush's scale, right? This is the actual mesh, right? And its scale. This is the delta mush, the special sauce recipe, whatever the hell it does, right? And its scale. I'm gonna click it and watch what happens here. Bang. See what happens? Now the global controller, and you see this yellow here. That means that it means that the global controller is interconnected with the delta mushes, the delta mush, right? E mesh, delta mush. See, now it's yellow. So it's a special connection. Blah 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 blah. So I grab the global controller, and if I jack it up, and it's behaving the way it should. Otherwise, it will look like an inflated balloon, literally. Hence, which leads into here, how, and let me just go default material. Wait, this isn't the one that's animated. Let me pull up the animation that I made so you can see the scaling properties being animated. So 1 second. So here's that other file with the animation test that I did. Right, here's a global controller. See how it's keyframed. Here's a delta mush. Watch what happens. The global controller, its scale, and watch the delta mush's scale. So bum 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 bum, and watch the scaling. Watch, see. See, it's interconnected. The special sauce delta mush recipe, its scale is interconnected to the global controller and its scale, and I animated the global controller scale. Hence you get the little brrr, super cool looking, and that's how you do that. Without this setup, this ain't gonna work. It's gonna break, and it'll be frustrating. But so yeah, I designed this setup so that it will work. I'm pretty sure there isn't a tutorial anywhere in YouTube land on how to set up the delta mush to scale with the rig, because I personally looked for it for the longest time, and I just created it myself, set up this whole setup, but it's airtight. I can move it like this. For example, I can set a keyframe here, set a keyframe here. Wait a minute. Keyframe, and then at frame 12. Scoot it over like that. And then frame 12. So frame 12, I'm gonna make it 200. So that's what that does. just airtight. I can even go, animate these other guys too. Right? These guys can be animated. Yeah. So that's the whole thing, and that's pretty much the whole process. And grab all the controllers. And delete. Right click. Delete. Grab this. Type in 0. Type in 1. Press F. And there you have it. Self-contained. And then you have the controllers, bones, mesh. When animating or playing the animation, turn off the P, and you can turn off the P for the bones. That way, if there's something playing, it won't show. See? Only when you stop the playing does it show. Hence the word P. P for the play blast, preview, whatever the hell you want to call it. And that's it. So that's the end of that. And the letter E is pretty much done. Yeah. You want to have each letter self-contained in their own file. Because if you try to have multiple letters, multiple bones, multiple controllers, it's going to turn into a nightmare to deal with, right? So make sure you have each letter as a separate source file. I already made tutorials on how to properly import the rigs and whatnot, so that it'll be good. And it's already a playlist and available and whatnot. So that's pretty much everything, and that's about it. Alright, bye.